Hey everyone, it's Kelly from Silly Moon Quilting Code. Thank you for joining us for another YouTube video. Today we're going to be using our Wedgie 1 ruler. Wedgie of course comes in 3 different sizes, 1, 2, and 3, and they all nest together. But today we're going to be using Wedgie 1 and we're going to talk about the markings that are on the ruler, and we're going to show you how to transition that design to an overall design on your quilt. Stay tuned and I hope you enjoy. Hey everyone, so today we're going to be working with Wedgie 1. The same principles apply to all 3 wedgies. Of course, Wedgie comes in 3 sizes. Wedgie 1 is the smallest of the 3. But I want to show you today how to transition from one kind of star pattern using Wedgie to the next one on your quilt so that you can end up with an overall design on your quilt. So we're really quickly going to go over the basics of Wedgie. There's going to be another video showing all of the basics of the ruler, but this will get you started. So we've got Wedgie 1. You'll see that we've got 3 lines on the bottom of the ruler here. Those lines are going to allow you to move this center point up or down. So your needle, once you put Wedgie 1 down on your fabric, this top line, the line that's right under the word Wedgie 1, is the one that is going to line up with your needle. So if you're trying to figure out where your needle is going to end up, you're going to use that line. And then of course we've got 2 other lines, and that's going to allow you to, if you have a line on your quilt, move it up so that maybe your center isn't right in your seam, if this is your seam. Again, at the top, you'll see we've got 3 registration lines there. Those 3 registration lines, again, the center one, the center one is where your needle is going to end up. And then you've got a couple other ones to determine how far apart you want your spacing to be. And each one of these lines, like all our rulers, each one of these lines is a 1/4 inch away from the line beside it. You'll notice I've got my sticky tape on that comes with all our rulers. And I also want you to look at the lines that are on here. So we engrave all our lines so they're nice and make it nice and easy for you to see on different fabrics. And you'll see on Wedgie 1 that you've got one here that says 60 degrees times 6. So what that means is if I start in the center and I pivot this ruler using that line on top of the line I just stitched, I am going to end up with 6 wedges around the center point. And then the other side is 45 degrees times 8. So that's going to give me 8 wedges around a center point, okay? When you're starting this design as an overall design, you kind of have to plan it out a bit so you know where you're going to end up, that you can transition. And what I mean by that is I don't want to end up in this bottom corner here and then I want to do the rest of my design going this direction. So I have to make sure that my last wedge is going to be out this way because that's the way I want to transition and do my next set of wedges. So by doing that, what I need to do is just kind of figure out where I need to end up. So I want to end up kind of over here. So then I can start, depending on whether I want 6 wedges or 8, I can start about here, and that's going to end up with a wedge there. So knowing that the wedge that is engraved on here is where a stitched wedge is going to be. I'm going to go over that again. So the engraved lines that are on the ruler are an indication of where your wedges will end up. So if I start here, I will end up with a wedge there if I'm going to use the 60 degree. Or the 8 at 45 degrees. If I'm going to end up using the 60 degree one, I'm going to end up with a wedge there. And then I can figure out too, if I want to do my wedge to end up over here, I can start at the back here. So I hope that makes sense. The engraved lines are where your wedge is going to end up, where you're going to finish. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to start about here. And I'm going to bring my ruler foot down. Now today I'm stitching on my Bernina Q16 and I'm using the lift table. I'm actually sitting today. Sometimes because I've got the lift table, sometimes I stitch standing up, sometimes I stitch sitting down. Today I'm going to use this and stitch sitting down. I'm also going to, I'm not going to show this part, but I've got my stitches at 8 stitches per inch, and I tend to put mine on BSR2 if you've got this machine, okay? So I'm not going to get into that. We've got another whole video that's coming on how to use the Bernina and what my preferences are. But for this one, that's my settings. I'm using glide thread and some solid fabric. So I'm going to bring my needle down about here because that's kind of where I want my center to be for this. I'm also using the 72S ruler foot, and you'll notice by using that ruler foot I can slide my thread underneath because it's got a slit there, which is handy for me. I'm going to bring my ruler foot down. I'm going to do a single stitch to bring up my bobbin thread and pull it up. Now if you're working on a domestic machine, this is all basically the same. You want to bring up your bobbin thread just like I did. So you want to go over a spot, you want to bring your needle down, it's going to catch and pull it back up, and then you want to pull your bobbin thread out of the way, and then you want to do a couple securing stitches so that your stitches stay locked where they are. And then you can determine what you want to do with these threads. If you're going to bury them, I suggest you keep them fairly long. If you're not going to bury them, then you can go ahead at that point and cut them if you choose. I'm just going to tuck them in behind for now. I'm going to lift my ruler foot at this point, and I'm going to slide my ruler underneath the ruler foot. And this is the same on your domestic machine. It's exactly the same how you're going to do this on your domestic. You're going to slide your ruler underneath like that. If you're on a different long arm that has a different shank here, or your ruler foot doesn't lift up, you can slide this slit right over the shank in here, and that'll work for you, okay? So when I bring my ruler foot down, I'm going to make sure that I bring it down in the center of the design of the ruler. I don't want to be trying to necessarily get it right in that spot where I'm going to start stitching. It just gives me a little bit more freedom and a little less concern about putting that ruler foot down right in the spot, so I don't worry about clipping the edge of my ruler and damaging either my ruler foot or the timing of my machine or the ruler itself. So I'm going to bring my ruler foot down there, and then I'm going to look and see where I kind of want my last wedge to be, and I want it to be here. And for the purposes of this video, I'm going to use this 60° times 6 wedge. Okay, so I know that I'm going to end up with a wedge stitched there. So if I do this one, if I'm choosing the 60, this is my first wedge, then I'm going to start rotating it so that this stitched line goes over top of the line I just stitched. Sorry, I'm going to rotate it so that this engraved line goes over top of the line I just stitched. And then as I continue to go around that ruler foot, I know I'm going to end up over here, and that's going to help me transition back this way. And lift that up a bit. Move that thread out of the way. So I'm going to start up here in behind the foot. I've got my ruler foot nested in this little spot. Now, if you're using the 1/8 rulers, this is really important. It's important on the 1/4 inch rulers, but more important on the 1/8 because there is a little bit more flex to the rulers. When I bring my ruler back to this spot where I'm going to start stitching, don't push it against it. Just kind of let it nest in there naturally, because over time, if you keep pushing this ruler, this gap will open up and you're not going to get your nice sharp point, okay? So you want to just gently make it sit like that. And of course, I'm going to put on my gloves. I've got my stitches locked. I'm going to hold my ruler nice and flat. And you want to, again, make sure you're maintaining control. You want to keep your fabric flat, and you want to maintain control of that ruler. So I'm just going to start. And when I reach this point, I'm going to take an extra stitch there just to make sure that my stitches are locked really well. And this is the case in any time you're going around on the inside of a ruler, because it means your stitches will be nice and sharp. Otherwise, if you go around the corner too fast, it'll look rounded in that corner. And I'm going to stop when I reach that point. Now I'm going to rotate my ruler so that that engraved line behind my ruler foot is sitting right on top of that stitch line. And you'll see that more as I come around here. And stop there and do another rotation. So you can see that engraved line is going over top of the stitch line that I did. And back to the bottom. And then I'm going to rotate one more. And keep rotating, so that we're going to keep rotating, and that engraved line is over top of my stitch line. And it's the exact same if you're using the other engraved line. And I'm going to rotate one more. So now I've finished my first line. I'll lift my ruler foot and slide that out so you can see my first little wheel, I guess. And now what I want to do is I want to extend this wheel out this way. So I'm going to put my ruler back on here to show you. I'm going to bring my ruler foot back down. Now what this is going to mean is that I need to do a stitch again up to one of these corners. So I'm just going to put my ruler back in the position, and it's best if you don't move your ruler because obviously sometimes even the slightest movement change. So when I start stitching here, I'm just going to make sure I'm on the line that I already stitched, and I'm going to go nice and slow to make sure I stay on that line until I get to that corner. And then when I reach that corner, I'm going to rotate my ruler so that now this line is facing my center, and this is going to all line up here. So I'm going to stitch back down here and back to the center, and then up and then back down again. And that's going to put me in that same spot. So I'm going to stitch down, and stitch back up. And those corners are going to meet. And if you have to take an extra stitch to make sure they do, you can. And then I'm going to stitch back down that same line. And now I'm back in my center, so now I'm just going to continue on and start that rotation again. And then I'm just going to keep continuing around. And you'll notice sometimes I go up the left side or the right side. It doesn't matter. As long as you're rotating, you're okay. So now I've done two. I'm going to lift that ruler foot so you can see what I've got there. So I've got two touching, and then I can determine where I want to go. If I want to go this way or if I want to go in behind, I can go ahead and stitch up any of these to carry on. And I can also do a combination of different sizes of wedges. So let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to bring my ruler foot down there. I'm going to go back up this way so that I'm stitching that direction. I'm going to line up here, and if you have a dude, you can always put your dude in there to make sure that your 1/4 inch line up is the same. But you can just take a couple stitches and make sure you're on the line that you've already stitched. Oops, don't look at the camera, look at that. And stop there. Now I'm going to rotate this again and make sure that I'm nice and lined up, and I'm going to do another wedge going down this way. And keep in mind that if you're doing this on a quilt overall, you're less likely to be using a sharp thread like this. So you may find that a different thread is going to blend a little better. So if you're off by half a stitch, it's not going to make a difference. So now I've got my first wedge done there. We did our first 2 at 60 degrees. Let's do some at 45 degrees, which of course means we're going to get 8 in a round instead of 6. So again, we're using the wedge that's on here, and we're going to be rotating now the other direction. And I'm going to rotate that so that it's over top of the line I just stitched. Keep rotating. Rotate once more. So we finished the 8 wedge, and you can see there's our 6 wedge, but you can see how you can easily transition these to go from one wedge to another, and then maybe back to the 6, and you can do this as an overall design on your quilt. You of course can finish one wedge, and if you end in the corner, you could do a swiggle or use the twisty ruler to go over here and then do another one of these there. You don't have to have them all touching, but it's kind of a fun way to transition them all over your quilt. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed that video that we just did on the wedgie ruler and how to transition it from one design to another on your quilt to create an overall design. As a reminder, our wedgie comes in 1, 2, and 3, so 3 different sizes that all nest together. I hope that you enjoyed that. If you like that sort of circular design, maybe check out our drop set of rulers, because that one as well has the same sort of markings, except it's a lovely little flower petal and creates a little bit different design, but you can transition exactly the same way. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Please remember to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Hit that notification bell so that next time you know when we've released a new video. Thanks so much and have a great day.